random Disney things in the middle of the night that you probably don't care about, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm the Dapper Danielle, and today I wanted to talk about a piece of Disney storytelling that I feel like has been completely swept under the rug. Mostly due to the fact that this storytelling piece reopened at the same time that the 50th anniversary was happening, and it kind of got overshadowed by all of it. And some of you might be like, Danielle, what on earth are you talking about? I'm talking about the Main Street Confectionary here at Walt Disney World and how it just recently reopened days before the 50th anniversary. In consideration, the refurbishment actually wasn't a very long time. The store location was only shut down from March of 2021 to about the last couple days of September of 2021. The store reopened with brand new theming, storytelling, an expansion, and a new partnership with the Mars Company. And nobody's talking about it at all. Well, there were some people when the store first reopened, they went in, took some pictures, did little snack things of the food, but never really dug into what's really there, the storyline and some of these interesting pieces of Disney history and real history that are combined together. So I'm making a video talking about it. Only one other blog has kind of really touched on this, and it didn't, I think it was the way it was written, it didn't really get the best remarks. So let's have the Dapper Danielle try it. And the reason why I want to talk to this is I want to give appreciation to the cast members that work at Main Street Confectionary, as well as the Imagineers that created this interesting partnership with Mars Candy and made it blend together into the Disney storytelling aspect. So I just really want to give appreciation to those cast members that made the story come alive. Before I say anything else, I do want to state that I do not speak for any of the brands or companies that I'm about to mention. The storyline I'm about to tell you does not come directly from an Imagineer or from a representative of those companies. This is strictly from my research, talking with cast members that actively work in the location and learning what their trainers taught them, as well as just basic observational knowledge. So why am I talking about this? Well, the reasoning why actually stems from an adventure that me and my family just recently went on to Disney World's Magic Kingdom. My family had not gone to see the brand new confectionery since it reopened. The rest of the family's like, oh, let's just go walk in, see what's going on. And we all agreed that we loved the remodel. It is very clean and classic looking, and there's some great Disney storytelling, but my family was confused on, well, what is the storytelling? So we actually ventured to the very back of the store, and there is a new section called the Kernel Kitchen where they have a mixture of different types of popcorns you can try. You can create your own popcorn mixture. And we ran into two very sweet, fantastic cast member ladies that knew exactly what they were talking about. We ran into Miss Faith and Miss Lindsay, so shout out to them. What I also find very providential is when we walked in and met these cast members, they were actively talking to a guest relations leader that was also wondering what the storyline was. And originally this was only going to be a 60-second TikTok video. However, after I started looking into the history and storyline a little bit more, there's actually a lot more to unpack here than what can fit into a 60-second TikTok video. So that's why we're talking about it on YouTube. If you don't know, I'm also the Dapper Danielle on TikTok and on Instagram, and I try to have different content on all of my platforms. So make sure you follow me on those as well, and that you're following me here on YouTube, and make sure you like and subscribe. Okay, enough of that. So let's go ahead and actually jump into the storyline now that we've started talking about this. Actually, one more note. Before we jump into our story, I do want to reiterate that Main Street doesn't have a specific timeline. It is said that it's inspired by the early 20th century, which can span anywhere between 1900 to 1933, with also nods to 1890, which is just slightly before that. And again, Main Street is loosely inspired by this timeline. It's also not inspired by one location either. Now, if you're one of my Disneyland followers, you are probably well aware that Disneyland's Main Street definitely has a different vibe compared to Magic Kingdom. Architecture, the layout is similar, but still very different. Disneyland's Main Street definitely has more of inspiration from Marceline, Missouri, where Walt Disney grew up from the age of 5 to 10. So from 1906 to about 1911. Disney World, on the other hand, has some slight nods to that. However, it's more heavily inspired by the East Coast and the New England area. And I say this because the main thing I want you to focus on while I'm talking about this storyline is that this is a Disney history, meaning that it is based in some reality, but it's also the world of imagination. Some of the stories on Main Street talk about one specific time period, while others, even just one store, can show the transition of time over multiple years. You get what I'm saying? Are you following along? Okay, let's finally talk about this. The very beginning of our story takes place in the very back of the store in the Kernel Kitchen, which I just mentioned a little while ago. This is a brand new area, all part of the expansion. It kicked out the old Chapeau shop, which is kind of sad to see go, but at the same time, those same ears were also all available across the street at the Emporium, so it made sense to go ahead and take over that area. And this is a what if storyline. So it starts and combines the real history of the Mars Candy Company with the Walt Disney storytelling history. This section of the store has a slightly different color palette and also portrays a different part of the timeline. So this is the 1890s into the very beginning of the 1900s. This area looks like a combination of an old test kitchen as well as an old chocolate shop from that time period. Now, when you go into this area and go into the far back wall next to the registers, you'll notice some classic more small batch chocolates, and these are Ethel M brand, which of course is also owned by the Mars Candy Company. I start off with this first because this actually tells the beginning of the story and theming into the rest of the confectionery. And to help explain this, I'm actually going to use a quote from ethelm.com, the actual candy's website company, in their About Us section. So it reads, "Inspired by the kitchen of Ethel Mars, which date back to 1910, Forrest Mars Sr. created Ethel M chocolates in his mother's honor. Using her timeless recipes, Forrest's vision of sharing fresh crafted small batch premium chocolates was born." And that's exactly what the Kernel Kitchen is inspired by. It's to look like a small family kitchen or a test kitchen, and it's heavily inspired by Ethel Mars. Now, immediately next to those chocolates behind the register against the wall, you will see a picture of a couple. That is of Frank Mars and Ethel Mars. They were married in 1902 and had a son named Forrest Mars. Sticking with that same storyline, a diagonal into the room, right up the ramp actually, you'll see a little frame that looks like it has a spoon and a recipe card, or like a piece of paper that has the recipe all written out and it's stained with maybe some spilt chocolate or whatnot. And it appears to be the test recipe for the Snickers candy bar, or possibly the Milky Way bar. I'm not very good with making chocolates. Which, Danielle, side note, I do find it very interesting that they included this picture of Frank and Ethel G along with a picture of a horse. Let me explain why. Frank Mars and Ethel G were married for a very brief amount of time, only from 1902 to 1910, and very quickly after that, he remarried an Ethel V. Yeah, he had a thing for Ethels. But I believe that they included the picture of Ethel G and Frank Mars because the current Mars family stems from this relationship with Forrest. Their son Forrest was really the one that kind of expanded the company and brought the brand to what it is today. What makes the picture of the horse weird is because the horse is from the second marriage. While I was there, I did not get a good chance to look at the engraving underneath the picture of the horse, but I believe it is a picture of Snicker the horse. Yes, the Snicker bar was named after Frank Mars and Ethel V's favorite horse. For a little more context, in 1923, the Milky Way bar became the #1 selling candy. So of course, Frank definitely got some remuneration from that. So he and Ethel V decided to go ahead and buy property in 1930 and turn it into a horse breeding farm. Specifically thoroughbred horses, as well as Heifers cattle. The story supposedly goes that Ethel V's favorite horse was a sweepstakes winner named Snickers, though the horse did die shortly before the release of the candy bar. So Frank agreed that would be a lovely tribute to their favorite horse to name the new candy bar after the dead horse. I love that. It does tie in a lot of history into the Mars brand, but I just think it's kind of funny to have the picture of the first wife, but the favorite prized possession of the second wife within feet of each other. Nobody else find that weird? And if y'all want to know, the Mars family drama is very interesting, like how it came to be and whatnot, but that is a totally separate history that I am not going to go more into detail of. I've already been chasing chocolate rabbits, but if it's something you're interested in, definitely look it up. It's very interesting. Refocusing. Let's go back to the storyline. Once you go back down that ramp out of the Kernel Kitchen, you'll notice that there's been a change in color palette and theming and possibly a changing in time. possibly even moving forward into the 1920s and 1930s. If you look up at the ceiling, you'll notice these giant blue ribbons hanging down. It looks like that the Mars family is hosting a showcase from across the country. The blue ribbons from the ceiling also give me feelings and vibes of a World's Fair, which Walt Disney would have totally been into. Like, I could totally imagine a pavilion featuring different sweets from either around the world or around the country. I would love to see that. And it looks like there was a contest that was held here as well, and it's called the Swedish Spoon Showcase. As guests come into the Main Street Confectionery, they'll notice that inside the display cases, there's little blue ribbons next to certain dessert options. And supposedly these ribbons change. They change seasonally and or semi-frequently due to what's popular, what is brand new, or something that the guest and cast members say is one of their top favorites. But who are these snack makers from all over the country that are featured here in this showcase? If you look above the registers where the cast members are standing, you'll notice framed pictures of characters as well as blue ribbons next to the pictures. These are our showcase winners. These pictures can also be found outside of the confectionery in one of the windows that shows like a trophy and like a garland and everything. It's very cute. So right at the main entrance of the confectionery, there's a pillar right in the very middle. And on either sides of the pillar, there are descriptions of our 6 showcase winners. So let's go through them. I love some of the backstories that were created for them. So let's go ahead and break through those too. But I must pre-warn you, I will butcher all of these names. The first one on our list is Agata Kaminsky. I am sorry, my Polish friends, I probably horribly butchered that. And she is from Chicago, Illinois. Her description reads, "Few things fill the free-spirited music teacher with greater joy than sharing Polish jelly donuts with her students," who nominated her for the Swedish Spoon Showcase. Martin Wright, the school principal, also writes, "Parents complain about her pazak because there's not enough for them." I think that's how it's pronounced. That's probably not correct. I know what it is. I just can't pronounce it. Pizaki? Pakziki. Hooked on phonics. Now, Kaminsky is a very Polish last name, and yes, the little sweet treat that I cannot pronounce for the life of me correctly is very similar to a jelly donut. However, there are some minor differences between this and a regular jelly donut. For example, this has a very rich and sweet yeast. It's made of eggs and milk. Kind of think of a brioche donut, but better. I can't pronounce it, but I have tasted it before and it's very, very good. Next on our list is Willy Anderson from Tulsa, Oklahoma. His description reads, "Hobbies are Willy Anderson's hobby. Lucky for him, his parents' bookstore contains all he needs to know about potential pastimes. Treating taste buds to the tastiest pound cake in town is his latest obsession." Now his mother, Edith Anderson, writes, "If my William's nose isn't in a book, his hands are on a spoon or a hammer or a guitar or who knows." I love that Willy is a book nerd and is just, you can tell based on his character, he is super intelligent. He can just pick up a book, read through it and be like, okay, I'm gonna try that. And then he's able to do it very, very well. Now this is probably another name I will not pronounce 100% correctly. Toshi Hayakawa is from Main Street, USA in our storyline. Now in his description it says, "Toshi Hayakawa doesn't just bake, he puts out flames. As a Main Street firefighter, he turns up the heat on his greatest passion in the firehouse kitchen, perfecting his family's 300-year-old rice cake recipe." It says that Fire Chief Smokey Miller commented, "Toshi's mochi are great to grab and go, and I can grab a lot." A couple things that I really love about this character and his backstory that the Imagineers have kind of added into that. Number one being Toshi's last name or his surname. It translates in Japanese to fast river. So it's the fast river is putting out the fires on Main Street, USA. I think that's kind of cool. The second thing to notice isn't in Toshi's name, it's actually in the fire chief's name. Fire Chief Smokey Miller is the name of the citizen of Main Street that walks around in the park. Now, of course, we haven't seen the citizens of Main Street since the shutdown in 2020, but I hope still that Smokey Miller is still doing okay. The next winner in the showcase is Sonia Sanchez from Brooklyn, New York. And her description reads, Sonia's kitchen provides her Puerto Rican neighborhood sweet taste of the Caribbean. Crowds line up into the street to purchase her quesados, sprinkled with La Señora's signature cinnamon sugar. Again, I don't speak Spanish, I'm sorry. Wait, is that the Puerto Rican treat? I think it is. Hold on. Oh, I know what these are. These are so good. These are so good. Oh, hold on. I'm getting distracted. Her granddaughter, Officer Nadia Sanchez, says her baking can cook up a traffic jam. I do love that her granddaughter had to become a cop because her grandma's cooking was just so good that it literally caused a disturbance in the neighborhood. This character's comment, I did see somebody in another post comment, well, it's the early 1900s. How could there be a traffic jam? Well, you have to figure automobiles were created by this time, and actually automobiles became very prevalent in the 1920s, which still fits into our time range. However, the thing that was not prevalent at the time was road signs and lanes. Those didn't really exist or become the norm until the late 20s into the 30s. So yeah, it could totally cause a traffic jam. I feel like this character was created in honor of all the Puerto Rican mamas that work at Walt Disney World and take care of their CP babies. By CPs, I mean the college programs kids. Very quickly, I learned when I was a cast member that you found out who the baker was in your location. And of course, one of them was always a Puerto Rican mom. It is very good. If you get a chance to try these, they're very good. Okay, refocusing, moving on. Our next character is Dr. Alcium Tabor. Again, I'm not 100% sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but she comes from the Blackfeet Nation in Montana. Her description reads, Dr. Tabor's digs are fruitful introductions into indigenous cuisine. Graduate students join the esteemed professor's paleontology trips to learn from the best and taste her famous fruit leather, the ideal for their fieldwork. Kimmy Roth, one of her research assistants, says, when you're digging up bones, nothing's better than a snack that sticks to them. Last but not least, we have one more character, and his name is Saul Fitz, and he is from Beulah, Maine. Saul's description reads, a town tailor of great renown, Saul fits fashionable, impeccable fitted suits and trousers by day and finds relief from his extracting work at night by baking and noshing on chocolate rigolac. In sweetness, there is calm. Again, I'm sorry if I pronounced that food item incorrectly. His partner, Gary Henderson, writes, I'm glad he unwinds by baking, so I can unwind by eating. The pastry item that Saul makes is a filled pastry product originating from the Jewish Poland community. But the thing to note about this character is the location of where he's from, Beulah, Maine, which had a huge impact on the creation of Main Street. In 1963, the Walt Disney Company released a musical movie called Summer Magic, which took place in Beulah, Maine, which also took place in the early 1900s that fits in perfectly with the storylining of Main Street USA. The movie Summer Magic inspired a lot of the characters and the creation of Main Street USA here at Walt Disney World. There's also a very obvious reference to this movie across the street on the windows of the Emporium, which is directly across from the Confectionary. And there's a window that says Osh Popham, proprietor of the Emporium. Now you might ask, who is Osh Popham? He is the character that Burl Ives plays in the movie Summer Magic. In the movie, Osh Popham was the local mailman that also happened to run the general store in the town, which does sound like he could possibly be the proprietor of the Emporium. After all, the mailbox on Main Street is just a couple steps outside of the doors of the Emporium. So with all this information, these characters I told you about, some being fiction and some being real, what does that mean for you as the guest when you come into the confectionery? Well, it just means that you are going to witness a showcase, the coming together of multiple different places from across the country, as well as different cultures are being showcased. Now, no, we won't probably see any mochi or any Polish pastries hanging out in the confectionery display cases anytime soon. However, that would be super cool if that did happen. Just like a little nod to the characters as well, so that way you can continue with that storytelling. I think that'd be very cool, but I don't see that happening until later on in the future, because right now there is still some supply chain shortages that are happening in the culinary industry, especially in candy. Like certain candies right now are back ordered for months because of the supplies that's used to be able to create those candies can't be imported right now. So I do feel like you will see a very limited menu in the confectionery for right now. Plenty of Mars candy, of course, to supplement until we can get some more creative food options going on. Like maybe we'll see a return of more Rice Krispie treats, who knows. I think that the Imagineers and the Mars representative team did a very good job of making the story of Mars very subtle, but still prevalent if you know your candy history, especially back there in the back of the store at Kernel Kitchen. And that tying in the display aspect, I love the new displays inside the confectionery. The giant wall of M&Ms is so aesthetically pleasing to me. I think the Imagineers did a very good job of designing and creating and making this a very cohesive feeling. Again, I do wish that they expand more upon these 6 great characters that they've created, give them a little more presence into the showcase. But besides that, I do also enjoy that the ribbons move around seasonally. Good job. Keep that up, cast members. I really want you to keep succeeding in that. Is there anything else in the storyline at the confectionery that maybe I missed, that maybe you noticed? Or did you learn something new? Let me know in the comments. Thank you again to the cast members we ran into that I was able to ask my questions to. Lindsay and Faith, you guys were great again. I hope y'all learned something new, and I know I did while doing a little more in-depth research into this stuff. And again, I am so sorry for butchering names or butchering the names of certain sweet treats. I might not be able to pronounce them, but I for sure have eaten most of them, and they are so good. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out my other platforms. I will have the links in descriptions below. And until next time, night night, sleep tight, dream of churros tonight.